Good morning, everybody. It's a fantastic Friday as we get ready for the weekend. How are you doing today? I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got gas, the morning edition. Yes, morning edition, because next Tuesday, it's our evening edition as well. Next Tuesday, 2 for Tuesday, and we've got a special guest lined up for that. We'll see you then. But today, yesterday, well, what day is this? I think it's Friday, right? Yeah. Let me look. Yep, Friday. Didn't say anything. I don't understand. Anyway, yesterday we spoke about mufflers, the silence of the noise, or the mellowing of the noise. But how does the exhaust get to that muffler? Well, in automotive engineering terms, it's through an exhaust manifold. Now, manifold collects the exhaust gases from the individual cylinders, puts them into, most times, one exhaust tube. So you take 4 tubes into one tube. Now, in most cases on production vehicles, they're made out of a stainless steel impregnated cast iron today. Now, a lot of cars, such as a couple of mine, came with factory tubular exhaust manifolds or headers. Now, even in the early days, headers were made from tubing or round, very round and open cast iron. Chrysler was known for their Ram cast iron exhaust manifolds on the high-performance Plymouths and Dodges in the 60s. They were tall, ram's horn style because they came up above the valve covers and dumped into big holes at the bottom, a collector that was cast in. Now, these were very expensive castings, even for the time, and they were only found on the performance versions of the Chryslers, but they were still an exhaust manifold. Now, where did we get the name exhaust manifold? Well, it's actually an old British term. That's right. Good morning, Yvonne. How are you doing? And all the others that have tuned in. Boy, this is moving quickly. All right. It's an old English word that it was manifold. I can't speak English. I speak American. Anyway, manifold, from the Anglo-Saxon manig, meaning many, and field, or feld, F-E-A-L-D, for fold. Okay. And it refers to folding together of multiple inputs and outputs, in contrast to an intake manifold that lets air in, the exhaust lets burnt gases out. Now, exhaust manifolds are generally simple cast iron or stainless steel units, and when I worked for one of the companies with a 2-letter word discussion name abbreviation, but I won't say Generous Motors, one of the engineers occasionally would have documents sent, and they would come to me for some reason. He had the same name. I don't understand it, but it wasn't me. But anyway, they talked about the level of stainless steel being cast into exhaust manifolds to make them stronger, make them last longer, and prevent them from rusting. Now, if you remember in days gone by, you replaced exhaust systems on a car almost annually in some places because they would rust out. Hi, Kim. How are you doing? And Debbie Bradshaw. But today, replacing an exhaust system other than for performance enhancement is almost something of the past because they use stainless steel exhaust. Now, another reason they have to use that is because of the heat generated by today's engines and the emission controls. The catalytic converter creates a lot of heat. A standard steel pipe coming out of that catalytic converter cannot handle or withstand that heat and would go away quickly. Good morning, Bruce Boardman. How are you doing? And Jessica in Sweden. Jumpin' Himini, how you doing today? Good morning to you. All right, so tubular exhaust manifolds. We call them headers these days. Now, headers is an American English term. The British term is extractor manifolds. Very proper. Now, Australian English is simply tubular manifolds. Dude, we're going tubular. For those of you who surf, that's when the wave comes over and you're right in the tube and you're still surfing, you're moving, but the wave hasn't hit you yet. So anyway, that's another story altogether. Which brings me to the point, this Saturday, it's the Santa Barbara Woody Club show. I'm going to go out to that and see that. It's going to be cool. All right. Exhaust headers consist of individual pipes coming from the cylinder head of a car. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever cylinders you've got, 6, 7, 8, inline, V8s. It's still a single tube coming from that exhaust port out and going into a collector. Now, the collector takes all of those cylinders and puts them into one large pipe called the collector. It collects all those exhausts. Now, on a tuned set of headers, you have individual pipes that are equal length. The theory being the equal length, the exhaust travels the same regardless of what cylinder it is. Now, to get into even more detail, there are 180-degree headers. Now, 180-degree headers puts the pipe and pulses together. So if number 1's firing, then number 6, for an example, number 1 would join number 6 so that the pulse pulls the exhaust or scavenges the exhaust from the preceding cylinder. So 1 to 6, 2 to 5, 3 to 4, in that order, not necessarily in that order because I don't know what timing order is right now off the top of my head. See, nothing on the top of my head. So, but that's how it works. It uses the scavenging. Now, most aftermarket headers, because Sanderson does make cast iron headers as well, are made from mild steel or stainless steel tubing, stainless steel being the harder or the more expensive tubing. And they are set in different diameters depending on the need. Small diameter for street, a larger diameter for higher performance or racing. And sometimes they're coated. I've got on my 57 Ford, those are coated with a ceramic that looks much like chrome, but it protects and it keeps the heat from radiating out as much. Now, it doesn't stop it completely, but the coating does protect and help the header last longer. There's also polished stainless steel. You'll see those on a lot of show cars. It usually yellows with a yellow tint as it does, and chrome turns bluish with the heat from the exhaust. Now, another form of modification used to insulate the standard headers are these wraps that they've been using. And the wrap is made out of material or ceramic paint. You put those on. The exhaust wrap is completely around the manifold or the exhaust pipes, and it's fairly cheap and simple, but it keeps the heat from radiating away. The problem, though, is when it holds that heat in, it can cause premature failure of the tubes. They tend to get hot. They'll get brittle. Well, they're always going to get hot, but because that wrap is holding that heat in, the metal in the manifold exhaust pipes or the header exhaust pipes will get brittle with time, and you will have fatigue or fractures or cracks in that exhaust pipe. So the goal of the performance exhaust header is mainly to decrease flow restrictions. Let the exhaust flow out more rapidly, theory giving you more horsepower because the engine isn't getting exhaust back through the valve, and that sometimes happens. Reverberation will cause the exhaust to go back in as the piston is going down. It's depending on your cam timing and your valves opening, but that's part of it. Now, exhaust scavenging, I talked about that a little bit. Now, high pressure head or manifold creates large pressure differences between the exhaust combustion chambers and the atmospheric pressure outside the exhaust system. As the exhaust gases equalize between the combustion chamber and the atmosphere, the difference in pressure decreases and the exhaust velocity decreases. So you use the scavenging, like I said, the 180-degree headers, where one pulses, the next one is already pulsed, it scavenges or it pulls that exhaust out, keeping the pressure going or the volume of air flowing. Now, remaining exhaust gas forms a low pressure area. The tail component of this may initially match ambient pressure, but the momentum of the high and the medium pressure components of the exhaust reduces the pressure in the combustion chamber to lower the atmospheric level. Now, part of the reason to have a header to extract that exhaust out is to also keep the temperatures in the cylinder cooler. A problem that, well, the original flathead Fords had. The heat would build up. They only had 3 ports for 4 cylinders on each side. The heat would build up because the center port was between 2 cylinders. Again, remember, the flatheads did not have valves in the heads. They had valves in the block. So the ports were in the block. That area would stay hot, and the flatheads were prone to cracking in by the exhaust valves because the heat would not dissipate and go through as rapidly. Now, they used a cast iron exhaust manifold on those early ones. On my wife's flathead Ford, we have headers to hopefully get that gas out a little bit quicker. All right, so exhaust scavenging and so forth. Now, there is dynamic exhaust geometry, and this is today's understanding of the exhaust systems. Much like fluid flows, so does the exhaust flow. And it has a given number of mechanical improvements. One such improvement can be seen in the exhaust ultimate power valve. Now, this is something Yamaha is using on their motorcycles, and this valve, for however it does it, constantly adjusts back pressure. It knows when to release and when not to release. Kind of knows when to hold them and knows when to fold them. And it keeps the pressure in the exhaust system equal. This is a system that Yamaha is using on their motorcycles, and it enhances horsepower. At very low speeds, the wave pressure within the pipe is low. A full oscillation occurs and the exhaust valve is closed. As speed increases, the X up, as they're calling it, EXUP, valve opens and pulsates to get things out. Hi, Jess. How you doing? Al Benato. How are you doing, sir? He's just tuned in. Glad you could be here with us. Now, one of the things that we talked about yesterday was the X pipe or the H pipes and how they worked. And they work quite well, actually, and they are a good part of the exhaust system. And what that does, it helps equalize that pressure and works with a little bit of scavenging at the same time. The X pipe is probably a little bit more efficient because the exhaust is already flowing. And in that flow, the pulsations from the right bank and the pulsations from the left bank help each other move out through the exhaust pipe. The H pipe does a similar thing, but it's a flat cross pipe, so it is not as effective. It does mellow out the sound, though, a little bit, and I have the H pipe on my 48 Plymouth, but I don't have it on my 56 Chevy. And the 56 Chevy, man, that thing raps as the exhaust comes out when you hit the throttle. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the muffler shop and have them put an H pipe in, and that should mellow out some of that exhaust tone. All right, we've been exhausted. This is it. It's Friday. I'm getting ready for a great weekend. Going to go to the Santa Barbara Woody Show on Saturday. Sunday, I'm going to be working around the garage, working on the cars, putting up some shelving, getting things a little bit more organized in my shop. Now, you guys have a great weekend. Jerry Burwell, how you doing? Rick McGee, oh, the top fuel guy. How are you doing? Hope you had a great week. Hope you have a better weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy. I'm Hot Rod Bob. You've got gas. Great American Auto Scene. Brought to you by Valley Head Service. See? Irwindale Speedway. Irwindale Drag Strip. Beach Underwriting Associates. Tucker Tire. I got a friend going over to Tucker Tire right now to get a set of tires from the guys at Tucker Tire. Say hi to Tom Tucker when you go over there for me. And don't forget the guys at Service Tech. Service Tech, they just introduced their new battery pulse charger. It's great. It works wonderfully, and it extends the life of your batteries. How it does it? It pulses the electronic charging to the battery, keeping the plates from sulfating. Hi, Jonas. How you doing? You know, I've been talking to your lovely wife a little bit earlier. She's on right now. Jessica's right there. She's in a different room. Social distancing, huh? That's the way it is. Anyway, folks, you guys have a great weekend. I'm Hot Rod Bob. When you call Service Tech for that pulse charger, mention my name, say GAAS, the Great American Auto Scene, sent you, get 10% off. Take care, folks. I'm Hot Rod Bob, and you've got GAAS, the morning edition. I'll send you a video from the Woody Show tomorrow up in Santa Barbara, so stay tuned for that. And then I'll see you on Monday back for more GAAS. Take care, folks.